Welcome to the TREPX Podcast. TREP is short for entrepreneur. One of the most meaningful and rewarding, yet difficult challenges you can take on. The TREPX Podcast gives you actionable insights, real examples, and success X factors from experienced entrepreneurs as we are learning, living, and sharing in the exciting endeavor of entrepreneurship. Now here's your fellow entrepreneurial traveler and host, Micky Deming.
Hello, welcome to the TREPX Podcast. This is Micky Deming. I have a great interview to share with you today. I got a chance to chat with my good friend Russ Perry from Design Pickle. This is the second time Russ has appeared on this podcast. The first one was, one of our first 15 episodes. I could easily go find this out, but I'm not looking at it right now. But way back, probably about 5 months ago or so, and it was pretty cool because we chatted about their journey to that point. It's a very new company, Design Pickle, and the first time I interviewed him, it was about 6 months old, and we chatted again this time, and it's about a year old. So it's really cool to see a company transition and grow and mature, and Russ, the founder, has been so transparent and willing to give up his information and everything behind the scenes, things that went well, things that have not gone well, and things he's learning along the way. So this interview is really eye-opening because we talk about all those things, basically looking back on the year of Design Pickle. If you're an entrepreneur, if you're in a business that's growing, there's so much you can learn from Russ. His content at designpickle.com is very valuable, and even just the stuff he's sharing in this interview, you definitely want to listen in because he has some gold nuggets of information on building a team, on delegation, on time management, and just the growing pains of what Design Pickle has learned as they have built this exciting company that's on his way to becoming an $80,000 a month recurring revenue business and growing. So lots to learn from Russ. Definitely enjoyed chatting with him. So to learn more about him and all he has going on, check out designpickle.com and sign up for his weekly newsletter because there's tons of insight in that. And you can see this interview and listen to it at trepxgroup.com. So thanks so much for joining today, and please enjoy this interview with Russ Perry. Hello, Russ Perry. Welcome back to the TREPX Podcast. How are you doing today?
I am excited. I feel validated that I got invited back.
That's right. Yes, it's a big compliment to say that was so good. Let's do it again. It was actually fun because when we talked before, we talked about a stage of your business, and now things have just continued to move, so it'll be fun to get an update. But first, before we get into all that, I'll let you, just for the people that didn't hear the first one, they should go back and listen to it. But if they don't know about Design Pickle, can you explain what is it? What are you guys doing for the world?
Yeah, so we are a flat rate graphic design service. So our plans are one price every single month. At the time of this recording, starting at $370 a month, and you can just use us as much as you need. There's really no limits to the amount of requests and revisions. We're an email-based service, kind of on demand. So it's a very, very handy-dandy tool for marketers, sales professionals, just anyone out there needing more creative content in a really streamlined and effective way.
Beautiful. Yeah, and that's what actually led us to meeting each other. I read an article featuring you on the WP Curve blog, which is a similar model, and we have our Kuhn Accounting similar model, a lot of flat rate monthly stuff, and I'm like, okay, I want to learn from this guy. How's it going? And I remember in that article it talked about just the massive growth you had in the first 6 months of your business. So can you, now you're a year in, right? How long has Design Pickle been going?
It will be our year anniversary in, I think, the 22nd of January, 21st. It's kind of gray because I had a private beta going for, end of December into January, and then we launched officially at the end of January. Yeah. So we'll see. We'll probably, I don't know what we're going to do. I don't even have a plan yet to celebrate that.
Yeah. I mean, and that's part of what I want to talk to you about, because I feel like just from following you, things have happened so fast. Have you even had a chance to take a step back and breathe and say, okay, what did this year look like? Have you really reflected much on that?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a really up and down year. Like you mentioned, we had some killer growth the first half of the year. And then out of the 12 months, we had 3 really tough ones, one in August and then November and December. So we're really just coming out of a slump, which was challenging, but expected, I guess. You know, you can't always hope, I mean, for 25% growth indefinitely, and that was about our average. So we took a lot of the time in November and December. I mean, we basically just stayed steady. We didn't lose ground, but we didn't grow, and there was a lot of changes we had made in those months. And so January was really looking at what could we do to make things more straightforward with our service, as well as make it focus on finding the right people. And that's kind of where our strategy lies right now. And we've done a lot. You know what I mean? To the new visitor, they really wouldn't notice much difference. But if you've been to our site, if you've checked us out for a while, we're just trying to be a lot more clear with our service, a lot more simple. We just updated things, so there's just the Design Pickle service now. There's not even like plans or tiers or anything like that. Nice. And we were chatting a bit before. We've implemented just recently an application process, which is like a legit application process. Like I get the emails of people coming in and come to my inbox, and I look at them, and I either approve them or deny them. So you know, we're trying to find just more of the right clients that'll stick around for longer and value our service versus just letting everybody have access, which isn't bad for cash flow at the short term, but ends up providing a lot of strain on the team.
I love that concept because it's counterintuitive. You think everybody wants to grow, want to get more customers. So why would we make it harder to have them come through the door? Can you talk through that thought process and just what that means from a business perspective to create a little bit of friction and have that application process and how you ultimately see that playing out?
Yeah, totally. And I'll try to like make it a kind of a more general conversation too, to comply to anyone else's business. So with any new client, you have a cost of acquisition, which is usually your sales and marketing costs. Then you have kind of a cost of implementation, which could be training, it could be onboarding, it could be a customer service person that you have to maintain. So for a pure SaaS business, which we are not, most of that cost is up front, just with the client acquisition. Once you acquire a client, then your costs to keep that client on board is very minimal or nominal. But for businesses like ours, which are kind of like these hybrid, like SaaS service businesses, like a SaaS model with a service component, we have a much higher cost of goods for maintaining a client. Like we not only have to, it costs us money to deliver on what we've sold, but there is a more of a ramp up period, because what we're like, no one in my world coming to Design Pickle is coming from, like, they don't have experience using subscription email-based design services, because we're really the only one out there that is doing it like we're doing it. So we have a lot of training that goes into it. And so what we found was, while we got clients in the door initially, clients weren't sticking around because they weren't the right fit for the service, meaning they either didn't have enough of a demand for creative content, or they were really expecting us just to be like a one-to-one replacement for their freelancer or in-house guy or gal, and which we're not. You know, I talk about all the time, we're a fourth design tool with that's out there that is going to be different than your freelancer agency in-house. So with all that said, we realized, you know, if we just let everybody on board, we're going to be spending a lot of energy on folks that maybe not be a good fit. Whereas if we put up enough barriers up front, to find the right people and get them in the door, well, then that means those people are gonna, we're gonna get more out of them, and we can invest more into them too, knowing that they're gonna be around longer.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. And I think that's a huge takeaway for this audience here, whether or not you're going to do something that is like restricting people, but just to make your communication speak specifically to the right person, I think is such an important thing, because we all get caught up in it. Like, oh, if I can just get some sales in the door, make some money, and we were talking about it before, but we're going through the same thing with providing accounting services. Like, we can't have people that aren't the right fit, and it's not like they're bad people.
Yeah.
There are certain types of businesses, certain types of models that fit well with what you do, and I guess for you guys being new, I mean that's one of the things that's probably going to happen in your first year is you're going to get more of a clear picture on who that is. Do you feel like that's kind of one win you can take away is like, okay, well, we know, more clearly who it is we want to be working with?
Yeah, and exactly. And we just followed the money. We looked at where people were just staying around. We offer incentives if people want to pay for the service in full for a year, and we were looking at who pulled the trigger on those kinds of deals. And the common thread, the common, kind of action, there was no one industry that we saw. It was more these folks are executing ongoing sales and marketing content. Like every week, there's something they're creating. So that could be a gym, like a brick and mortar gym, or it can be a blogger. Like either way, those are the folks that we want to find. And then here was the interesting part. Is most of these people were doing it themselves and now realize that that's not worth their time to grow and scale their business. So there's a huge conversation that we're going to start having this year with our marketing and our sales content is like, what's the value of your time? Because there's tons of awesome tools out there that can get you the creative work that we create for free or cheap. Like Canva is a good one. You can download like light versions of Adobe apps and use them for free. But that more than likely is not what's going to take your business to the next level. And so finding those folks that kind of had that aha moment and saying like, hey, here's a really relationship type based tool that you can create, a lot of work with and ends up being fairly streamlined. That was a big eye opener for us too, because at first we just thought, we were going after. We had a lot of clients come aboard that were like an agency. They were using us as a outsourced, like another form of labor other than their in-house guys, and then in-house marketers who usually have an in-house team that were just kind of using us for overflow. We still love those folks, and if you're one of those folks, feel free to sign up. But again, the value, the value that like aha, like oh my gosh, this is awesome, just wasn't there for those folks as it was for the guy who's like staying up late to do his blog images and now can just send an email and they're done automatically.
Yeah, this is cool. So this is why I love bringing you back, because I think when we talked, I don't even remember everything in the interview, but we talked 6 months ago. The conversation centered around like, we grew and now we're kind of dealing with this growth and figuring out how to scale. And, 6 months later, it's like, okay, now here's the stuff we've learned. And I thank you for your transparency because it's really fun. But I think that's what, people can learn from, is not just, a blog post on like, here's the 10 things that we learned and whatever. But it's like real stuff, like what you're going through. And I think what you're saying is that probably your biggest thing to do is to pay attention to what's going on. And if you were just to set a path and start moving down and not pay attention, not be willing to adjust, that you could very easily get stuck in a place that made no sense.
Absolutely. Now, like I'll just throw another real thing, and I mentioned it before we were chatting. Probably 5 minutes before we started talking, I posted a blog post, a real deep dive into our decision to stop promotions and discounts. So we did a ton of promotions in 2015. I mean, probably too much, saturated our target audience with deals and everything. And I just realized two things. One, we were kind of lying because like our service is our service, and like we would always do things like limited time offer, like 10 spots, get them now. And, I talk about in the blog, we're basically just playing the scarcity psychological game that we all respond to. But I thought I got really like, I don't know how to describe it, but I just like, you know what? I'm kind of sick of that. And it's not very honest because we don't care. Like we can have anyone sign up. There's no limit. So we decided that we're not going to do that anymore. And mind you, we've made a ton of money doing it. I mean, like over 100K plus additional revenue, probably because of these promotions and things and triggering people to buy. But I don't want to be the guy now who's like the used car dealer trying to sell, every time it's like, blah, 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 blah. So we just canned it. And we actually will only do 2 promotions a year, and that's to current clients who want to upgrade to an annual plan. They'll get a discount. And other than that, like the price is the price. So that is another big shift for us, is just having confidence in our value and not feeling like we need to discount or like incentivize people to sign up. Right.
That makes a lot of sense. Yeah, that's interesting. So one thing that I notice about you guys and the model that you have, you're not a founder who is doing the work. Like a lot of business owners kind of start out like they're doing the work and then they have to learn to replace themselves. Your role, I'm curious to know, because you kind of take on the role of strategy, of systems, of training, of team, and of all the marketing and growth and business development. And so I'm curious to know really, how has your role evolved? So like, is it different now than it was in those first few months? And like, where do you see it evolving even now?
Oh man, this podcast is becoming like a therapy session.
I know, it's great.
So, okay, real, raw, honest answer is I kind of jacked things up a lot this past year because, and I'll tell you why, is like, you're right. Like from day one, I've never done the design. I mean, it was always, even I founded this business because I didn't want to do the design. So the actual core of our business has always been systematized and a process that's driven itself really well. So over this past year, if I look back, I have attempted several times to get out of the sales and marketing game. I had a sales guy over the summer, kind of more of like a direct cold call type person. And then I have another guy, who's with us, Jim, who's awesome. And initially he was hired to be kind of like marketing. Well, what I realized quickly is that we were in no position for me to sort of delegate those things out. And both times the reason I delegated it was because I was like, oh, look at me. I'm so great. We've had this awesome process and system that I built for production. Let's create a new one for sales. Let's create a new one for marketing. And the fact of the matter is we're just so young and our business is evolving so fast that there's no way for anyone, even if they were super experienced, to be able to. There's no process or system for what we're doing right now, unlike the production of design, which is very straightforward. So my role has evolved into almost like these like, oh crap moments where I've hired these people and then like, oh crap, it's not working, and it's to no fault of their own. I mean, the guy that we hired, Matt, for sales, like he's awesome. He's a really experienced sales guy. He just wasn't going to be successful, period, because of our moving target. Jim, same thing. He's a great marketing. He used to be an in-house marketing guy. He's still with us, but he's now totally focused on a whole other area. And that was a big.
He's totally focused on wearing the pickle suit at all times.
He's always, and handing out free pickles. Yeah. But I realized that like, look, it's probably going to be a while before we are able to staff up in a strategic way in those areas. And so, that's where I've really taken control back again. And, probably like in November, I had that sort of realization, and we've been shifting it. And, depending on when you publish this, you'll have seen a huge amount of new content coming from me and from the company and everything that really hasn't happened since probably summertime because of this evolution.
That's really eye-opening, I think, because I think there's no good answer. Like you want to get everything to be systematized and predictable, and then once it is, you can bring people in, you can train them, but you can't. What you're basically saying is you can't do that too soon. You can't pull the trigger on that when it's still big swings, big ups and downs. And when you're doing a lot of content, that's just not very predictable, and you guys have done a lot of that. So, I appreciate the transparency, and I think, you guys are going through it right now. So let's talk about the content, because I think even if I feel like there's probably a lot of people that subscribe to your content that aren't even candidates for the service just because you do such a good job at teaching people marketing. Can you talk about just your psychology and thought process behind that? Because the people listening to this should absolutely go follow you guys because there's just so much to learn. So talk about your approach in providing that type of value.
Well, it comes a lot down to just what I know, and my background being agency world. I had a couple $1 million a year agency prior to this. In that position, you have to sell creative ideas, but you also have to teach people a lot of stuff because a lot of the ideas that you're creating are so novel. That's why they're hiring you, because they can't think of the stuff themselves. So I've taken that role, and a lot of what I've done with my content has been pulling back the curtain of what we're doing at the company as a self-funded startup. And last year I maintained a regular newsletter called the Founder's Journey. And then we had our other content marketing, like our weekly kind of sales focused stuff. So big lesson from last year is less is more. And what we've done is we've combined that into just one solid Thursday publication called the Weekly Pickle. And it's massive content from me around what we're doing and thoughts. It's some sales stuff, like you want to jump on a webinar, check it out. But the strategy overall is teach what I know and teach what I have experience around. Maybe that's not the best one, like maybe I'd be better suited for the five like dangers of Facebook privacy or, like the link bait stuff that gets out there. But I've just tried to generate real stuff from what I know it to be true or my experiences or my kind of thoughts around things. And so that's been the strategy. And again, like I said, simplifying too, because we're just a small team and I'd rather do one really great thing a week than 5 average things.
Yeah, I think everybody runs into that with content. It's like, well, if I can get this many views on one post, then what would it look like if I did 5? Then it'd be times 5, right? And then we drive ourselves nuts. So I've been there before. So as we start to wrap this up, I think one thing that's most important just in this conversation, because we're talking a lot about about scaling, about replacing yourself, and that really goes back to the service that you're providing for others. And I think the key to what you're talking about, and you mentioned it before, is the ability for people to really think about what is the best use of their time. Mm-hmm. Like, are you able to put up something, in Canva? Yes, but what's the best use of your time? So can you talk just, because I know you have a lot of thoughts on this, but just the concept of outsourcing and of delegating and of making best use of your time, and just how you approach that and how you recommend others start to think about that process. Yeah.
Okay. So rewind 2 years ago, I was probably like the top 10 user of Fancy Hands in the world. Like, it's an outsourced virtual assistant kind of pro software. You can have people make reservations, do whatever you need to do online or on the phone. And I thought like everything that came into my head, I needed to capture and do and delegate. And that what I had kind of a path I went down was a path of a lot of nonsensical actions that really didn't matter, but I was getting them all done. So I think there's a fallacy of delegation and outsourcing and putting together the systems and the tools and all the stuff that we have are available to us, because the fact of the matter is a lot of what you think about in your brain and what you want to do won't matter at all in like one day. So yeah. I've slowed down a lot with things. And as far as time management is concerned, I repeatedly have asked myself, what will this task basically help me get closer to the main things I'm trying to achieve in the next 30 to 60 days? Is this meeting going to be something that's going to be important for that? Is this project I'm going to be working on? Is this, thing I'm going to be creating? And is the actions to get to that path the right actions for me? So in terms of design or writing or whatever, there's some things that I'll still do myself. There's some things that I'll send to Design Pickle. And like last year, we updated our website. We hired a contractor to do that who is best suited for it. There's always different paths to get to where you want to get to. Where I think most people get stuck is they don't prioritize the actions, or everything becomes a priority. And so then they're just overloaded and they aren't working on anything. They don't have any time to dedicate to anything major because they're so consumed with like they're getting things done list that they have delegated at all. And actually, I'll throw out a book that I've been tweeting or I've been posting on Instagram about. I love Instagram. That's usually where I'm at. It's called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And he's a professor at Georgetown, PhD from MIT. He's a computer science guy. But all of his writing is about like this distracted culture that we're in where we can't take the time to block out 3 hours and just focus on one thing and work. And that's where the great things happen. So that to me is a sign, like if you can't sit down for 3 hours and not check your phone or your email or get bothered, then you have a time management problem.
Yeah.
Because that's where the beauty happens and
that's awesome.
And the big creation happens. So that's really what I'm going to be focused on this year, is creating more of that space. And if it requires me to delegate and get more things off my plate, then so be it. Or just ignore things and be cool about it. Like,
no, I think that's not an easy thing to. It's like one of those things you have to relearn over and over again because you get caught. You like get it and you're like aha, and then you just find yourself right back in. Oh, I'm just knocking out tasks. And then you really back up and you're like, what am I really doing? And I think, and you guys are helping solve that. I think that's the beauty of it, is like you are passionate about it, you're living through that, and then you're also doing it for other people. Because I know there's so many people that are in a limbo between like, sometimes I can do this myself, sometimes I can go to like some outsourced company, and it ends up becoming just a stressful, thought process rather than having a go-to option regularly day in, day out. It's one less thing that is even a thought. So it's cool that you can contribute to that too.
Thanks. Yeah, no, and we're doing our best, and we'll continue to tell it how it is. I mean, that's my kind of authentic side that we've really upheld. Our hashtag Obey the Pickle is all about like living your authentic self, the pickle suit, all that kind of stuff. So definitely invite anyone who's listening to jump on and follow along, because I think we're gonna go through some big things this year, and I'm all about sharing the experiences with everybody.
Yeah, I love that. No, it's clear that you're transparent. I think the listeners will appreciate that. So, just one last thing. We talked about where this has been in a year. You've done a lot in a year. So what do you see 2016 looking like? I know we talked about a bit of it, but what are the big things you want to see moving forward for Design Pickle? What's coming next?
Okay. Next 30 to 60 days, we are gonna, I think, hit 80K in recurring revenue. So that'll be exciting. Monthly recurring revenue. So that'll be $1 million business, which I'm pumped about. I wanted to do it before our birthday next week, but I don't think we're gonna make it. We are gonna be really improving a lot the app. So we have a custom app that's built to manage the process, and we rolled out some really small updates late last year about like the file management side of it, but we want to roll out like basically like a file browser. So as you use our service, you can have like an archive of everything we've done and like easy access to the files. You can share them with people. It's like really super simple. And I like to see HubSpot one-click integration. Like, I know those are like technical things, but those I think would be really killer for us to expand into a new ecosystem where you can use our tool, and then once we're done with the design files, like publish it directly to a content marketing system. We tried doing Infusionsoft, but the API the software just doesn't work for that concept, because HubSpot has like a really slick file manager that you have. So yeah,
lots of good stuff.
Yeah, that's it. And more pickle promotion. Like I want to give away a lot more real pickles this year. We did a lot of that in the first half of the year, and we ran out of pickles. And the pickle where we get our pickles is kind of a pain in the ass to buy from, because they're out of Wisconsin, and it's like you got to mail a certified check, and then they fax in your order form, and So it's a bit of a process to
You got like a pickle farm, a go-to pickle farm.
Yeah,
that
you need pickles. And I got the hookup, man. You just let me know. I can get you your pickles.
That's awesome. That's a great goal. I want accountability on that, on how many you're giving away.
Yeah.
So no, this has been great. I appreciate it, Russ. This is it's always fun to just hear your journey and all that stuff, and I appreciate you sharing all the details. So I think we've heard most of it, but where can everybody find out more so they can sign up for all the good stuff you have going on?
Absolutely. So probably the best way to just kind of dive into our world and check it out is designpickle.com or designpickle.com/weeklypickle. That's going to be the newsletter that we published. And then if you need anything, my email is russ@designpickle.com or on social media with Russ Perry or Design Pickle.
Very cool. Well, thanks so much, Russ. This has been a blast, and we will chat again soon.
All right. Thanks a lot, Mickey. Take care.
Thank you for listening to the TREPX Podcast. For more episodes, interviews, and business growth tools, please visit trepxgroup.com.